Board of Trustees, administrators, members of the community, and all present, especially my members of CSEA's Whittier Union, Chapter 42. So I'm here as the Labor Relations Representative for CSEA, representing classified employees here at the Whittier Union High School District. I want to begin by congratulating recognized employees this evening. They're the backbone of this operation and more than deserving of that recognition, so I want to give that out. While I would love to be here on just that happy occasion, some things have come up that necessitated my presence before you tonight. The first is the overall financial well-being of our membership. And we've had some fruitful discussions with your administrators about the financial condition of the district. We certainly share those concerns. I've heard a lot of discussion that this district pays employees more than the surrounding districts. Let me tell you how that actually breaks down. Our lowest paid classification is Nutrition Services 1. They make $18.59 per hour working here. And the trouble with that is the number that comes behind it, which is that they only work 3.5 hours per day. So, according to ADP, after taxes, without any additional withholdings, this means they make under $1,200 a month to take home. That's not the Whittier way, that's the Walmart way. And no salary study that's gonna take several years can fix the core of that problem. Our members shouldn't need multiple jobs and government assistance just to get by because they chose to work in public education. So here's the ask. Give your team the authority to negotiate a deal with CSEA that reflects the dignity, integrity, and pride that our members put into servicing the students of this district every single day. Just take care of the staff so that they can take care of the students. Here's the second piece. The transportation department needs your attention. I work with dozens of school districts across 3 counties in my time at CSEA. No transportation department I've worked with has shown such a pronounced culture of disrespect, disdain, and condescension for its own employees. They're told they can't use the same restroom as other staff. They're manipulated out of extra assignments that make a critical difference in their pay. They're even yelled at, and when they bring concerns up, they're shut down, shouted down, and they're disciplined. One probationary driver was let go last week after CSEA brought her concern forward to the director with no major safety concerns, 1 positive 2-month evaluation, and no 4-month evaluation, which is a contract violation, but that's just an aside. So to address that, CSEA filed a complaint with the district regarding the behavior and actions of the management team in the transportation department, which we look forward to investigating alongside your administration. And while we expect more complaints to come forward, we can't let our members' concerns be drowned out and waited out while the behavior of department management continues to create a work environment that makes our members not want to come to work. So we need your help in creating a culture change at the transportation department. There's an opportunity to do it, but it's gonna take some major change, humility, and a willingness to rein in bad behavior by managers when it happens. I'm not here to prescribe how we get there, but it's so important that this many transportation department members are still here with us right now, when a lot of them have to be back here in just a few hours. I appreciate your time, and I hope I'm heard when I say that our members are relying on the direction that you give to your administrators on these issues. Thank you.
Tonight, I come before you not just as a representative of our union, but as a voice for those who feel unseen, unheard, and undervalued. I want to speak honestly about the concerns that continue to impact the lives, livelihood, and dignity of our CSEA members. These are not small matters. They affect how we work, how we are paid, and how we are treated by those in positions of authority. First, let's talk about the work itself. For far too long, our classified staff have been overworked, underpaid, and expected to perform duties well outside their classification. Without fair compensation, when we raise these issues, we are met with resistance. We are told there's no support. We're pointed to contract language that has been shaped to make it nearly impossible to receive the recognition and pay that these responsibilities deserve. Where is the fairness in that? Where is the equity? I feel like the system is designed to keep us silent and compliant. Many of our managers are quick to dismiss our concerns, and frankly, some behave more like overpaid bullies than supportive leaders. If we speak up, we're punished. If we ask for fairness, we're treated like a problem. Second, let's talk about how we're paid. Being paid only once a month has placed an enormous burden on many of our members, especially those living paycheck to paycheck. It's not just difficult. For some, it's destabilizing. Members are falling behind on utility bills, racking up penalties, and finding it harder and harder to catch up, let alone get ahead. All we're asking for is the opportunity to be paid twice a month. A small chance that would have a huge impact. We're not asking for luxury, we're asking for dignity, for the ability to provide for our families, to put gas in our cars, to pay rent, power, water, and God forbid we get sick. Where's the support for that? And lastly, and perhaps painfully, let's talk about toxic culture of fear and retaliation. Management claims to have an open door. They say, welcome feedback. They say they want to hear our concerns, but those words have proven empty. Time and again, our members are retaliated against for being honest, for coming forward, for asking for help, for requesting fairness. Some have even lost their jobs for doing nothing more than asking to take on more work or to be compensated fairly. Imagine that, offering to do more, to step up, and being fired for it. How are we supposed to trust a system that punishes honesty? That silences truth, that terminates people for trying to survive. Shame on you. Is this what Whittier Union stands for? In conclusion, I ask again, where is the fairness? Where is the equity? Where is the equality? Where is the Me Too for classified staff? Do we need to give you 13 million more reasons why we matter? Because I'm certain you'll find 233,000 ways to say no. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Oviedo, Cabinet, Board of Trustees, teachers, community members, and my fellow brothers and sisters from the district and transportation and employee representatives, CSEA President, CSEA Vice President. I want to start off by thanking you for all your kindness and respect I have received throughout my 5+ years in this district. This evening, though, I come as a concern and stress about festering. I find myself walking through those employment gates each morning, having a sense of optimism that perhaps today will be the day I can make a difference in the students' lives. Excuse me, just give me a second. Perhaps now would be the day my coworkers and I will have a little grace and kindness shown our way by our leaders in the transportation department. But what I and countless others coworkers, past and present, receive a silence, condescending glares when we receive our keys in the morning to check our buses. I'm left feeling stressed and tense, wondering what I or we did wrong. I or we were unjustly, unknowingly marked with a target on our backs. Once you are followed, watched, harassed, bullied, retaliated on, intimidated, to the point that you either leave, retire abruptly, get fired, and we've had a few of those incidents the last 6 months, okay? But thanks to the good Lord and my countless co-workers, I'm still here. I'm still here to make a difference, a positive difference, in the lives of the students, my countless co-workers that I encounter in the district or in transportation. And I want to end by saying that I appreciate all of y'all, but I am here stressed out that I can't take it anymore. So thank you so much, and says Omsa. Thank you.
I apologize, I don't have a written. I started here 2019, taking as being in transportation, and I started with Mr. Gonzalez. It was the only night class that was available. Transitioning, I used to work at Whittier High School. I worked at New Beginnings, so I was a satellite, and I worked at with Mr. Rodriguez and also Devin Munson. Yeah, I know that she was a principal here as well when she transferred, but she was a counselor there, a dean. So I do have that background. I wasn't good, like I said, I wasn't prepared to come here today, but I have to draw the line somewhere. Year after year, like I said, I started in 2019. 2020 happened, we all know that, COVID. So I didn't become certified until 2021. In 2020, my mom died on Christmas Eve. 10 months later, my father passed away in October. Karen knew my situation. My parents lived in Arizona. I brought my parents here so I could take care of my mom, because I used to travel to Barstow to meet them halfway and then bring her to Kaiser, either to Bellflower or to Belmont Park. My father passed away in October. I took that Friday off. Sunday he passed away because the doctors already told me there's not much they can do anymore. He had kidney failure. I was having dinner Sunday night and Karen texts me and tells me, "Are you going to be at work tomorrow?" Well, in Arizona, they do not have the mortuaries open. So I texted her back and said, "No, I'm going to let you know now at 4 in the afternoon that I will not be back tomorrow. I need to take care of affairs here, since my parents live there, the house, and things that I needed to take care of." The next morning, she texted me again, asking me if I was coming in. I felt that pressure because I barely started here. I'm thinking to myself, like, what has no compassion, no empathy towards me? I understand that was a period where people lost a lot of family members. I am not the only one. I understand that. But once again, I'm the type of person, and yes, I do believe in God strongly, is that I am not perfect. So if I made a mistake, the next day I clean the slate and it's a new day. And like I've always said, most people know that I said, I'm ready to rock and roll. I am the first person to admit when I'm wrong. I welcome, please give me constructive criticism, because I don't want to be on a merry-go-round. When you're a child, the merry-go-round is fun. And we're in life, we're going to have a roller coaster. We're going to have ups and downs. But you know what? Together we can learn and to be a better person. And the reason why I drew the line today and I'm here is because in 2021, I placed an order for my uniform. I was giving hand-me-downs 2021. This is what I got in 2022. And I was told by Tanya, "Oh well, you have to wear it." And if I recall, where is Tanya? Is she here tonight? If you told me, well, you could tell people that you lost some weight.
That happened to me too.
The following year,
Same thing.
the following year, I told her, once again, I'm not a small woman. And I asked her, is there any way that we can try on these uniforms? Okay, so It's 2022, 2023. What did we do? There's two gentlemen from our job they get our uniforms, and we had to sign a paper. And I told them both, well, I haven't tried it on. Because what in that paper, I'm not gonna know exactly, but basically what it's saying, if you don't follow this code on this paper and you sign off, you will be written up. But once again, I haven't tried this on. Oh, and then I told him I wasn't gonna sign the paper. And once again, because they're my fellow coworkers, I don't have anything against you. You're doing what the administration is telling you to do. So what did I do? I signed the paper. And guess what? That was so tight, I might as well just wear my undergarment. Once again, you wanted to body shame me because I went to you and I asked you, who's the vendor? I was willing to pay my own money.
If you could direct your comments to the board, that would be really appreciated.
What I asked her for the vendor so I can go out of my own money. And I was told that she couldn't give me that information, she walked away. Okay, so what I did, because I only had 2 shirts because I had hand-me-downs, and because I wore them for almost 2 years, can you imagine washing them every 3rd day? How rattled they became and how thin? And I also described that and said that to her. Was that any importance to her? It was not. So what happens? I took it into my own hands and I spent $175 to get 5 shirts made. Because you have to pay for the protocol on it. I took one of ours shirts and I gave it to the person to do it for me. And guess what I got back? Retaliation. Last year, I got hurt. February last year, Martine was a representative and we were supposed to go into a meeting. I'm pretty sure Kevin is aware of that. And it didn't happen. Why? Because I got hurt by a student kicking me. That day, I was not offered a ride home. When I drove home, I had torn meniscus. Nobody in that department had the heart or the mindset to say, hey, do you need a ride home? Did somebody follow you? Can someone pick you up? No, they just thought I was drama. I am not. And it's horrible that yesterday what drew the line for me, because I come in, how many times have I told my coworkers, it's a new year, I am not gonna concentrate on that. It's a new year, I'm hoping they're gonna turn a new leaf. I can say, yeah, Tanya has. She has greeted me in the mornings. Can you imagine if you work and you're a superior and you're this close to your superior or your office manager or director, and you say good morning and they don't take the time or the audacity to address you and to look at you. They're doing it this year. Why? Because this has brought to your attention. And that's the only reason. Yesterday, there was a coworker who was in front of me. Tanya passed her a box of Chick-fil-A, all happy. When she looked up and saw me, she's like, oh, you already came by. And I was startled by that. I was like, excuse me? She was, yeah, you already came by. I go, no, I didn't. I'm just barely coming back from my lunch break. I'm now for my PM break. And I was asking her for my keys. Did I get handed that box? No. I walked down the stairs and go around to the restroom, and guess what? The person behind me, she handed it to her. So once again, am I outcasted? Yes, because what happened when my father passed away, he worked for UCLA, and that's when, Kevin knows, I had to go test once a week, which I didn't believe in getting the vaccine, and I had a test. And the only reason why I complied to that, even though I brought a letter indicating my civil rights, is because I was in the hospital in Arizona, and I was dealing with small children. I had about 10 or 11 4-year-olds. So it was no longer for me. I took in their life and their stuff into consideration. So I did something to my body that I did not want to. Countless times when I came to test, I was told to be off the clock. And then I found out, no, that we could be on the clock. So that was a part. So there was one day that I came over here. I could have been home already. But because I had to do that, and we had a clock over there, I was going through and a fire alarm happened. Karen berated me in front of my coworkers like if I was a child because it was a fire alarm. I had a video interview with UCLA, which they're in Oakland, and they were very small staffed for my dad's, for his benefit, the remaining paperwork that I had to do. Do you know how long it took me to finally receive that? A year and a half later. Because why? Because they yelled at me and told me that I had to come back. I understand, yes, it was a fire. It was not a false alarm, but it was a practice test or whatever. But what I'm saying is, by their direction, if I would have been on the clock, I wouldn't have had to clock out, go over there, come over here, and then go back in again and clock in and clock out again. But unfortunately, I did that. And ever since that has occurred, I have been subject to every year. Do you know that when I was in the night class, Mr. Gonzalez talks about...
If I could just interject for just a moment. We usually allow 3 minutes for public comment.
Yeah, that's what,
And I
basically I knew that.
Just wanted to encourage you to possibly wrap up with your key points, because I think just out of fairness to the process, and then we've listened to you attentively. I think we've all taken notes, and we appreciate your having the courage to speak. But if you could somehow wrap them up, that would be much
Okay, I'll
appreciated.
try. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My whole thing is that I wanted the 6-hour job because Mr. Gonzalez talked about, I've graduated from college, but a career college. I wanted to get my BA. I wanted to finish the remaining on my AA so I can transfer. When Karen became aware that I wanted to attend a class, she changed my hours. And it's been countless like that every year since I've been here. She's changed. You know, if I could take one class at Rio Hondo to finish my AA and then transfer, that was my goal. That's the reason why I took this job. And yet, year after year, like even this year when I came back from my injury, I was like, clean slate, let's do it. I've been monitored on the cameras of my bus. Is anybody else? I asked around, no. And the day that I took a picture showing that they've been monitoring me while I do my pre-check, they haven't been monitoring me. Like, what is the reason? Please come to me. If I'm doing something wrong, I'll be more than happy to change my course. Do not allow me to continue to do something that's incorrect. After all this pressure that they put on me, I'm driving that heavy bus with delicate and precious cargo, and they continue. As a lawyer, would you allow your paralegal to go in for court for you? You have to have certain documentations, licensing. I have that. We have in-house, and yet there's people here that do not have that credential, but they're allowed to tell us how to drive and what we need to do. I've got one more thing to say, Mrs. Oviedo. I don't know if you recall, there was a bus that was honking and you had to tell that cement truck to leave. Do you know how long that I was out there? Do you recall hearing that horn honk and honk? I called in and never got a response because it was during that time that I was on that list of people. I sat there for quite some time and trying to calm the kids down, and that's what I mean. All this, and I get ignored in the radio. Until finally you came out, and this is what I said, she's my hero because she made that cement guy move. See, once again, that's what I want. I think that's what we all want, the support. We want people to say what they need and do what they say. Because we are told we're a family. Okay, I'm a counselor. This is a dysfunctional family. There's favorites. And I mean, there's so many things that have occurred, but thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry I wasn't prepared, and I'm sorry that I ran over my time.
Good evening, family, friends, administrators, trustees, and honored guests. I'd like to thank all of my WSEA members for joining me tonight. It's my privilege to speak on behalf of the dedicated and passionate educators who make a profound impact on the lives of our students each and every day. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the incredible retirees who were honored earlier this evening. On behalf of WSEA, we thank them for their years of service, their dedication to their students, and the legacy of learning they're leaving behind. They've made a lasting impact, and they will always be a part of our educational community. As we race towards the end of another school year, many of us find ourselves navigating that familiar intersection of exhaustion and fulfillment. The final weeks bring a frantic pace of closing grades, wrapping up projects, and preparing students for the transitions ahead. But despite the long days and countless responsibilities, there's a quiet sense of pride that rises to the surface. A feeling that we've made a difference, however big or small, in the lives of our students. We've helped them wrestle with big ideas, develop their voices, ask better questions, and in the words of poet Mary Oliver, pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it. That's what learning is, a lifelong invitation to stay curious and engaged in the world. And that's what teaching is, the ongoing act of guiding, inspiring, and believing in young people every day, even when it's difficult, even when it goes unseen. We know this work doesn't end in June. Our members are already planning ahead. Some will be attending workshops, collaborating with colleagues, or enrolling in coursework, myself included. Others will be recharging their minds and spirits through time with family, travel, or long overdue rest. Whether through Whittier Union's robust professional development or personal renewal, Whittier educators are committed to returning in August better prepared to meet the challenges and opportunities of a new year. Of course, we know that none of this work happens in isolation. Improving schools, supporting students, and building trust all require collaboration across all roles, departments, and perspectives. We embrace the challenge of growing together, and that includes working alongside district leadership, school board members, and community partners. As James Baldwin once wrote, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Together, we are facing challenges and pursuing solutions that center our students, protect our staff, and reflect our shared values. WSEA is committed to being part of that collaborative effort every step of the way. At the same time, we are not blind to the realities ahead of us. We understand the fiscal uncertainty facing public education, not just in our district, but across the state and the nation. We hear the concerns from our members and our families, and yet what I see every day is a group of professionals, certificated and classified alike, who remain deeply committed to doing whatever it takes to support students and to avoid layoffs or disruptions that would harm the fabric of our schools. Earlier this month, my daughter Emma was reworking a pastel drawing she had made of Bubbles the Sea Otter, a piece that had won her first place in the Whittier City School District Art Show. And she decided to bring it to life again as a watercolor. As I watched her paint, I thought how much my dad influenced his little Emichka. I was reminded of something extraordinary about sea otters. When they sleep, they often float in groups, holding one another's paws or wrapping themselves in kelp so they don't drift apart. They literally tether themselves together in the tide, especially in rough waters. I think there's a lesson for all of us in times of uncertainty and instability. When the waters feel choppy, we need to hold on to each other so we don't drift apart. Solidarity is how we protect our schools. Connection is how we weather the storm. In the words of Maya Angelou, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. WSEA members live this principle every day, reflecting, improving, evolving. And it's the same spirit that we bring to our conversations ahead. We believe in our schools, we believe in our students, and we believe in the district's ability to make wise, compassionate decisions that reflect those values. On behalf of all WSEA members, I'd like to thank you for your continued partnership and for the trust you place in my members.
Thank you, Mr. Renteria.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Cabinet members, and our Superintendent. I'd like to begin by acknowledging all the moms in this room, especially our bus drivers, for their hard work and dedication. I hope that you were surrounded by your loved ones this past weekend, and more importantly, that you had the opportunity to be pampered and celebrated for your dedication, your strength, and the essential role that you play in holding your families together. Tonight, we proudly celebrate the achievements of our Whittier Union Adult School students, a powerful reminder of the life-changing impact of adult school education in our community. These learners, many of whom juggle work, family, and other responsibilities, have reached significant academic and personal milestones. Their success reflects not only their perseverance, but also the dedication of our incredible teachers, the strength of our programs, and the steadfast support from this board and our cabinet. As of today, 109 students have earned their high school diploma or equivalency this year. We're on track to surpass last year's total of 131 graduates by June, marking the 5th consecutive year we have met and exceeded our continuous improvement program goals. Each year, we've grown our numbers and our impact in our community. Among the countless success stories, I'd like to share one from our high school equivalency lab. Dana, one of our early graduates this year, has been a stay-at-home mom and held jobs as a nanny and as a restaurant server. Her goal was to work at her daughter's school, but she needed her high school equivalency or diploma. Dana enrolled at Whittier Union Adult School last August. She attended faithfully and even joined Mr. Young's math prep class. By December, she had passed all her tests. This spring, she achieved her goal, and now she's working as an instructional aide at her daughter's school. Dana will walk in our graduation ceremony this June with her children cheering her on. We invite each one of you guys to celebrate the achievement with us at the USEC graduation on Monday, June 2nd at Sandy Thorstenson Stadium at Cal High. We hope to see you there. In addition to celebrating student success, I want to acknowledge the unwavering dedication of our faculty. While many students choose Whittier Union Adult School for their strong reputation and our supportive staff, what truly distinguishes us is our educators' commitment to growth, their readiness to embrace new challenges, and continuously enhance their skills through professional development. This is why we continue to seek your support for expanded professional development opportunities. As you know, investing in our teachers is investing in our students. Professional development keeps educators current, sharpens our instructional practices, and ultimately drives student achievement. One recent outcome of our professional development efforts is the integration of artificial intelligence, AI, into our classroom curriculum, enhancing both teaching and learning experiences. In our ESL courses, students now use AI tools to practice conversational English and receive real-time feedback on their writings. In Ms. Herrick's class, 2 students recently shared happily how confident they felt when communicating in English with their doctors. It's a testament to both their learning and the power of this technology. Next term, our Excel course will be revamped with AI, allowing students to develop complex real-world formulas using Excel and AI. This skill set will significantly boost their employability and professional growth in today's challenging economy. In my own classroom, I'm proud to share that 50 of my students will be completing our computer and repair program, which includes coursework in cybersecurity, computer repair, and networking through the Cisco Academy. These students have earned industry-recognized certification. 4 are already employed. Eddie has joined the Carpenters Unit as a data analyst. Martin is working as an IT consultant. And both Eloise and Alexis were recently hired by the Los Angeles Center for Alcohol and Drug Abuse, La CARA. These students who once worked odd jobs with unstable hours are now thriving in careers they love, with full-time roles, benefits, and stability for themselves and their families. I'm also pleased to announce that we have finalized our contract negotiations with WUHSD, reaching a mutually satisfying agreement for both ends. Thank you, Ms. Fitzgerald. Our teachers are thankful for the board and the cabinet for the unwavering support, which allow us to continue delivering quality education to our students and supporting the community. On a personal note, I am proud to share that my son will be graduating from Cal High on June 4th. Pioneer, go Titans. His brother will soon take his place, as he'll be promoted from middle school and will follow in his brother's footsteps. He'll be another Titan. He'll be one of the first students who will pilot the PHS associate degree pathway with Rio Hondo. We're also looking forward to that. He's really excited towards it too. Like many of our students, the graduation marks a milestone, but also the beginning of what comes next. As we reflect on this school year, it is important to remember that for our graduates, this is not an ending, but a new beginning. Our teachers have done what Whittier Union High School District is known for: empowering students to achieve and maintain excellence. Because of their teachers' guidance and dedication, our students leave not only with knowledge, but with the confidence and purpose. They will carry these lessons forward, creating a ripple effect that will positively impact their families, their communities, and beyond. This concludes my report. Thank you for your time.
I have a deep appreciation for bus drivers. When I was 8 years old, I discovered the RTD, and I went everywhere in LA County and developed a relationship with the special bus driver, Mr. Rubin. Since I was 8 years old, I'm looking at that now, and realize, man, I was young, I had a lot of courage to get on the bus, go to downtown, taking 2 buses, going to visit my grandmother. She empowered me. If it wasn't for my grandmother, I wouldn't have known where I came from, and I wouldn't have known the history of my family and my grandfather, my Native American grandfather. So I saw that bus driver coincidentally about 8 years ago, and this was like 20 years later, at the Pioneer Swap Meet. You remember that place, right? He was selling baseball cards, and I was walking by. Now, I'm all fat now, fat and ugly. I don't know how he recognized me, but he says, "Gary," and I looked at him, who's that? And he gets up, and let me tell you, it was like seeing a Greek god in person. Is that this man, I held him so in high esteem that he remembered my name. And I went up to him, we hugged each other. He goes, "Gary, what are you up to?" I tell him everything I'm doing. And it's just, I've always respected that bus driver. He didn't have to talk to me. I was just some kid that got on the bus, sat next to the bus driver, and just talked the whole time. And also coincidentally, my cousin Maria Zamora was a bus driver here. My aunt Yolanda Sandoval was a bus driver here. And it's not because of them, but yeah, it kind of really is. Is that you deserve respect. And I brought this up when I first came on board, is that realizing that bus drivers are the lowest paid employees that we have in the district.
Yeah.
Right. And you deserve the most respect. When it was said that, you have such a precious job transporting young children from the other high school feeders in our own high school district. you deserve to be treated with the highest respect. I'm surprised that and I brought this up with Ms. Oviedo before, is that you're paying for your uniforms. I've never heard of that. Never heard of the lowest paid employees having to pay for their uniforms. But we did do something as a board regarding health benefits. Because of those arguments, we were able to extend the PIH healthcare for free. So I hope you're taking advantage of that. But I'm with you. You deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, and that the paradigm needs to change here. It starts with the top in the administration.
Thank you.
But I'm an individual board member. I'm not pandering to you. But this paradigm starts here at the dais, is that I think all employees need to be treated with dignity and respect, especially the lowest paid people. Because I've noticed when I first got to Whittier Union, I told myself, Gary, you're gonna shut up, you're gonna listen and learn, you're gonna be a new board member after 21 years at Rio Hondo College. And then I started experiencing how CSEA members were treated. And these observations were chilling to me, because back where I came from, that did not exist. And so I started looking at these issues and how some of these, the employees were kind of dismissed. So I know that you're telling the truth. I know that you're not lying. To be able to come up here and tell us your stories, I don't think you're lying. I think you're telling the truth. And I think it's our obligation to follow that up, but to say we're going to change the paradigm. So we wrote a policy, a board policy, 9310. And 9310 was about participatory democracy. Is that whenever a decision was going to be made and it was going to affect a group like teachers, like students, like CSEA, the administration would seek your advice and sit down with you and hear you out. There was no guarantee that we're going to do what you said, but the promise was to listen to you. I think that was a step forward. I think that was a step forward for the whole district. And in committee, Russell and I, the superintendent, we agreed and we made some changes, some tweaks, and we agreed to where it was going to go. It was shot down 2 meetings ago by Irma, who gutted it and said no. I think that's atrocious. I hope she changes her mind, because I think it's anti-union to want to work together. And it was no guarantee. We weren't going to just do what you say, but to listen was the step. So I certainly hope that that comes back. But if you don't mind me going off now to my report, is today's event with all the awardees was really special. To be able to be there when our employees are retiring, and to look back at what they've done all these years. I think they should get a medal. I think they should get one of those British medals with chains and all that. Just because, it's like getting a Congressional Medal of Honor. And so every one of those employees that are retiring, because there were some illustrious retirees today. And I certainly hope we see some of them, because they have expertise in areas that I think we need. And it needs to help with the transition with the new people. And we're planning to go to graduations. Graduation season is starting. Looking forward to going as many as I could possibly go to be part of that celebration. And I just talked to an employee who's at USEC who said, "Hey Gary, I heard you suggested that the DJ plays more family friendly." I said, "Oh yeah, did that happen?" He goes, "Yeah, it happened. They're gonna play La Chona." Some of them, I don't know if you can do La Chona. Lily Bo tells me some of that is offensive. They can't play it. La Chona. So anyway, they're gonna do that. But I'm so happy to sit there and see all the students graduate. And it takes me back to being a graduate myself, and I remember what I was thinking when I sat there, because I was there by the skin of my teeth. I'm not proud of that, but it occurred and I graduated, is I wanted to get that diploma and get the hell out of there as soon as I could, before they changed their minds. But I applaud all the high achievers, because I will go to events to applaud them and see the great transition that they're making to higher ed. And also applaud the struggling students, is those who are getting D's and F's, who are just barely graduating. Why? Is because they're so vital to our local economy and our workforce. Is that I hope they have some dreams. I hope they have some ambitions. You know, I heard a student tell me a couple of days ago, they said they want to be a tattoo artist. I said, you be the damn best tattoo artist you can. Because your success is our success. And I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about being concerned for those students who are low performers. And I wish them all the best in their life's journey, because looking at them, they're going to be 18, they're going to be going places, and I wish them the safety and health, and I'm looking forward to that. I was taught at university to look beyond the shadows. And that's why I played as Republican. In fact, Hyman was in that class too. You know, my family traditions say that I was taught to be a light in the darkness. I took 4 oaths in my lifetime: to liberate the oppressed, to speak for the voiceless, is to defend the defenseless, and other things like that. And I know when you do that and you expose the truth with light, it's that people hate you. And people, and I knew that going in, I knew that going out. That's why I took karate. And I'm not here to be understood, which is why I was recently told that I'm not part of the majority. I'm not part of the majority. Your comments will not be put on this paper. And I said, well, okay, I understand that. But that's why they keep me silent. Is that in America, in American democracy, American representative democracy protects the minority from the tyranny of the majority. Not silence, but a voice in the dark. As told by John Stuart Mill and Alex de Tocqueville, who warned about the dangers of unchecked majority. I'm here to protect students. I'm here to protect employees, parents, and members of my community from those who are out to hurt them, ignore them, not have them, and cast them aside. I know I will endure. We will endure. I know pain intimately. This is what strength looks like. But at CSEA, I was brought to the attention the video. I refused to see it, even though I saw Juan with his hat. I said, man, I got to see what this guy's gonna say. But I didn't watch it on purpose, because I wanted people to tell me how they viewed that. I wanted to hear that first before I became a judge. And I heard different opinions. Oh my God, you can imagine I heard from this side and that side. And I'm appreciative of that I waited. But I gotta tell you that I've learned over the history in the last 3 years that I appreciate your videos. As I've learned from them, in some occasions I'm made aware of things that I'm not told. And so by you dropping a fact on me, I'm able to pursue it a little more. And I've learned from that. So I appreciate your videos. And I gotta tell you, here's what I understand. Your videos are produced by your union. You have a right to do it. It could be political, but you have the right to be political. And of course, we all have, as I'm reminded by our board member, we all have a political right to do things. But you have the right, and believe me, I've been on the other side of that. I've been on the right of the press to write scathing articles. I've been there, done that. I appreciate your videos. And let me tell you why I often speak for CSEA. The minute I see an issue regarding teachers, I will be there. Because the justice is so ingrained in who I am, that I would do that. The CSEA relationship started early, and I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent, but I was a homeless student at Rio Hondo just after my father passed away that I was living with. I had nowhere to go. All I had was a tent and a sleeping bag and a bowl, really a bowl. So I slept in the hills behind Rio Hondo College and became homeless and would come down and shower every day. I felt so comfortable. It actually felt at home being homeless in the grass in the hills, because I was a camper. I was raised camping and backpacking all my life. So it really didn't feel different for me. And so I'd go down there and shower. I tried to be as stealthy as possible, because I didn't want anybody to know that I was homeless until they smelled you.
Right.
When they smelled you, you were exposed. I didn't like that. So the CSEA cage manager would open up early, let us, because there were some veterans up there living, let us shower and let us wash our clothes once a week. And I was grateful for that. So trying to be all quiet about it, it turned out that people found out. I don't know how they found out. Maybe I smelled. I would get burritos from Mario, the custodian in charge of the fitness center. He would say, "Here, have a burrito. I have an extra burrito. You want it?" I said, "Oh, if it's extra, yeah." Well, that would happen twice a week. And so I think he knew. But I didn't, I was too naive to acknowledge it. But anyhow, I've seen some improvement in the years since I started. I see Dr. Bill trying to move more towards respecting CSEA, and there's been inches of improvement. But I want you to continue, CSEA, continue to stand up for your members. I'll be here by your side, and as long as I'm here, I'll continue to be here. Do not let this board union bust you, keeping you from exacting your guaranteed political right to organize, criticize, and champion your rights. Next time this board hauls you into an illegal meeting, a Brown Act violation, to chastise you, intimidate you, infringe on your rights, and curtail your political activities, I will sue them with you. Because that's what they did. This board held a meeting to talk about your political email, and that's union busting.
Enough.
And let me tell you what the definition is of union busting. Union busting refers to tactics used by employers to prevent employees from forming or joining a union or to weaken the power of an existing union. These tactics can be legal or illegal. They can be subtle, they can be aggressive. Questioning employees about their union activities or surveillance of union organizers. That's what interrogation is. When they brought you in and they wanted to know about a political activity and they wanted you to change your mind, take it a different direction, that was union busting. And should I ever be called in by an attorney to testify to that, I will tell them that. And so, now, I gotta tell you that I will work with this board, especially when they do good, because there's been some good things. But when there's bad, I gotta be the truth. I gotta tell it like it is, because I am not gonna go along with things that are bad. So inclusiveness and respect. Policies have to be developed to bring us closer, to unify us. That policy 9310 was meant to bring every group, including students. If we wrote a policy, we know we revised all of our policies recently, and it's going to come up here at the board. The policy that was written, 9310, was to consult students when you're changing policy that affects them. To consult teachers when this policy that's going to concern them. To consult CSEA when this policy that's going to affect them. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a good thing. And I hope that that Russell still believes that. Hi, man, Dr. Oviedo. I think it's a wonderful thing. I just hope there's a change in mind. So in conclusion, You know what I'd like to see, and unfortunately Ms. Oviedo's not here, she did listen back. Is Dr. Oviedo, I'd really like to see some beginnings of us considering declining enrollment. There's been a lot of talk about that. We don't know if we have a plan in existence. But I'd like to start looking at that and start talking about, you know, what does a year look like? What does 2 to 3 years out look like? I'd rather be prepared than surprised. I'd like to see a policy development on clubs, the coaches, disclosure and transparency. And that this is the second or third year that I mentioned that I'd like us to do a post-high school survey. This is the second time. I'd like to see if they applied to universities and college, trade schools, that they get accepted, if so, where, that they enroll, and that they complete their first year. I think those are very critical for us board members to understand. Where is success happening? You know, and this could also be related to those who are seeking employment, if whether they got employed, that they continue to get employed for a year. I think it's important for me to understand. I have neighbors now that I knew them as elementary school kids, and now they're graduating high school. And so I'm concerned about their future, about where they're going, are they going to be successful? Do they have the help they need to get? And so that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Yes, I do. Thank you. And good evening. Congratulations, CSEA President Rodriguez. I want to say your CSEA video that was shared with me recently. Because of this, I did ask Dr. Oviedo to set up a visit of the Transportation Center and asked for a meet and greet with you. I look forward to working with you and your team. I'll stay on topic of the videos being shared by CSEA. Whether or not some agree with the content, thank you for keeping your members and non-members informed. Oftentimes, I know because I'm a union member, I want to know the latest negotiations. A video is great to stay in the way, the video is a great way to stay informed, plus CSEA and whomever has the right to videotape our public is without fear of reprisal. Mr. Rodriguez, your members live in my community, and the decisions we make impact them greatly, and I'm very, very mindful of that. On a different note, I did attend district-related events this past month, including a beautiful performance by the Honor Band and Lacerna Cal High baseball game. Also attended the WHO Awards. Thank you, President Francis and WSEA for the invite. Finally, I want to congratulate Ann Fitzgerald and the CIF committee members that came together, one, to dissolve the Del Rio League. I know it was difficult. And two, create a super conference that focuses on competitive equity. I look forward to playing schools like Downey and Warren High. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Josefina Canchola, do you have a report tonight?
Yes, Mr. President. So let me start by sharing some of the activities that I attended as part of the representing our Whittier Union High School District. On April 15th, I went to the Sir Optimist Scholarship Luncheon where a lot of our young women were honored, and it was just so heartwarming to see how powerful and thriving they are in terms of some of the life challenges that they've had to overcome to get the success in their lives. On April 21st, I attended the LACSA meeting, which is a countywide meeting of trustees and superintendents. We talked a lot about the immigration issues, and we talked a lot about the dual enrollment, which seems to be a real priority in the state. April 23rd, I attended the FOO Awards, where we had a fabulous teacher that was acknowledged. April 24th, this is a Chavez dinner. April 25th, Frontier, I did a visit at Frontier High School. I had a wonderful opportunity to meet with probably about 15 or 20 students. Had a really great conversation. They shared a little bit about some of their life challenges, their dreams. The majority of them are just, right now, are just focused on graduating from high school. And several of them talked about the types of careers that they wanted in the future, and carpentry and things of that nature. And so we talked about the possibilities of how we can connect them to those the different programs on the school side. They all really, one of the things I wanted to mention was that they all talked about how embraced and welcome they feel from the staff. And so that was very powerful to hear, because I think they feel not only that Frontier is a place where they can learn, but they also feel it's a place where they can be safe and cared about. On April 26th, I was invited to the Santa Fe Springs Fire Rescue Breakfast, where there were several community members and families, and it was just a very nice community event. On May 6th, I had an opportunity to go to Latina Action Day in Sacramento, and I specifically sat in the luncheon where they talked about dual enrollment, and so it's really amazing to hear all the possibilities and of what we can do and continue to do at the high school level to work with our community college counterparts to really give students a great head start at the university experience. On May 8th, I went to Los Nietos Golden Bell Award. They received, for the second time, Los Nietos has received a Bell Award, which is a really great honor by the California School Boards Association. And on May 10th, we attended that special board meeting, which was, part of like Mexican Mother's Day, but we spent it together, to make sure that we continue to do some of the Whittier Union High School Board. All of those things take a little bit of time, but we want to make sure that we're present and that we are true community partners, and that's why we make the time outside of our regular meetings to attend some of these community activities. I did want to make a quick observation, and I was made aware that the CSEA had put on the call of action video, which I had an opportunity to see. And I'll tell you, and just being very transparent, that I was a bit disappointed because part of that video included an image of me, and it said, that with a quote-unquote quote that was supposed to have been done by me, which I have never said, and I was disappointed that that it was a piece that was fabricated, so that the general membership thought that I had actually said something. And then here's the quote, supposedly, that I had said, CSEA support isn't needed. Number one, the membership of CSEA is so important to our school district. We couldn't get our students to the school sites without the bus drivers. We have, you may disagree, but it was not, it was not something that was factual. And so, again, I wanted to point out that is not even a misquote. It's just not something that I have said. And I hope that, and I'll just be honest that I am a little bit, I was taken back when I saw that. The image of me, and I was taken back that I was, in quotes, there was a statement that I have never said. And I hope that the CSEA membership understands that those are not my feelings, that that was somebody who put that information on there that is inaccurate. And I hope that there is consideration for the retractment of that statement because it's hurtful and it's not factual. And my hope is that, as it was stated at one of our meetings by Mr. Rodriguez, that he wanted to really build our working relationships with the union and with the district, and this is not the way to go about it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cancela. Ms. Rodriguez-Moisa, do you have a report tonight?
I do. It's, those of you who have attended board meetings know that I, like Ms. Conchola, do like to go through the activities I've done. And I will do that towards the end here, but there's a number of things I'd like to say. And I really want to reach out to our CSEA employees, our unit members, because quite frankly, what is being, appears to be alleged, things that I've said, is just completely untrue. The time that I've been here, I've been on the board now for 2.5 years. In 22-23, I voted in favor of an 8.5% salary increase and a 1.25% one-time payment. For the school year 23-24, I voted for a 6% increase in salary and a 3% one-time. And also with respect to the maintaining of the health insurance access to our part-time employees. This is a 14.5% salary increase in 2 years with 4.25% one-time. If we take a look at the Los Angeles, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Los Angeles area, in that same time frame, the cost of living, the CPI, was from July 2022 to July 2023 was 2.7%. From July 2023 to July 2024 was 3%. A total of 6.1% CPI in those 2 years. And we approved as a board unanimously a 14.5% increase in those 2 years. We can go back the year before, it was a 6% increase. The year before that, it was a one-time, and the year before that, it was a 2.25. In the last 5 years, this board, I wasn't on it before, has given 20.5% increases in compensation and salaries to our members. And so what is troubling to me is that there is this narrative that seems to be played out or pushed, and I don't understand it, that somehow there's a division up here about who supports our employees and who doesn't. I want to be very, very clear. I am supportive, respectful. I think I even said at one of our meetings, if any of our bus drivers had ICE try to get on that bus, I would be there with you. I would, get in jail with you. Why? Because I respect the work that you do. I understand and appreciate that all of our staff, our teachers, our administrators have a tremendous calling to do what they do to serve our students and our families. And I have been blessed to be able to observe it firsthand, as opposed to when I was a parent, you don't get to see the full spectrum, but as a board member, I do. So please, stop. Stop the division. Stop making false statements about any of us. It needs to stop. We are here as a family. We are here to support you. But we also have, and in this, I don't want to get into the negotiations, but we have a responsibility to make responsible financial decisions. And that's what we do. That's what the people of this community elected us to do. And that's our obligation. I've heard your members who testified tonight or gave their statements about their personal experiences that they shared. I do commend them for their courage to come forward. But I am also very, very concerned that by making these statements in this public forum, we are not affording people due process. That is to say, it's easy to make allegations, ladies and gentlemen, it really is. But there has not been an opportunity for any of those individuals who were accused of what was alleged to have their side of the story heard. And that is a basic American principle. It is a basic value of our district that we provide due process to our folks. And we are going to continue to do that. The administration clearly will take a look at your complaint, and there's a process to be followed. I believe in that. But what I don't believe in is the unfair public commentary about individuals. Because one thing I have learned in my life, and I do collective bargaining myself, when you sit at the table, you talk about issues, not the people. Why? Because you focus on the issues and we're going to find solutions and we're going to come together. When you start poking at people and people individually, you're tearing us apart and you're driving us apart. Please don't do that. You have a right, I would agree with Mr. Mendez, you have a First Amendment right to make political statements, engage in hyperbole. I too have that right as an elected official to also engage in that. I don't want to. I want to be positive. I want to be forward thinking. I want to bring us to a place where we have an agreement. I don't sit at the table, we obviously give direction here. But these tactics need to stop. They are only dividing us, despite our efforts that I thought we had made over this past year to come together. So I'm not understanding why this quote attributed to me that doesn't even make any sense, do as I say or else. It's not my value. It's not how I conduct myself. It is not what I believe. So please stop. Now, I do want to add a couple of comments in response to some other comments that were made, because again, it's untruths. This issue of Board Policy 9310, we had a great discussion. Maybe I was at a different meeting, but there was a great subcommittee that was put together. The policy was brought forward. I made some suggestions because I was a little bit confused. I turned to my fellow members on the board. We collaborated, we had feedback. That's what happened. Not this Irma gutted BP 9310. That is complete rewrite of history. And there was audio recording of that discussion that occurred. So don't be fooled. That's my other thing. Don't be fooled. Now, this issue of declining enrollment all of a sudden is of great importance to Mr. Mendez. I brought that to him last year when he was the president of the board several times. He made me go through hoops, send me an email, how does this relate? And ultimately, he decided not to put it on an agenda.
You had a presentation.
That was his right to do that.
For 19 minutes.
That was his right to do that. And so you know what? Now we have a new president. It's an issue that's being addressed. We've all agreed that that's important. So again, I had not planned on making any of those kinds of comments, but obviously, don't be fooled. And please stop the divisiveness. We are here as a family. We are here to come together. And I am always going to be here to support you. Always. I've said that before. I'm going to set aside whatever differences people perceive to have, because I'm going to focus on the issues. And I'm going to focus on bringing us together. That's what I'm about. Let me add a couple other things in terms of commentary. And I apologize, I'm losing my voice. I've not been feeling well the last couple of days. The thing I'll end with is, what have I been working on this last month? I love this job. I have a really hard day job, but this gives me a lot of meaning in my life. And it's been tough in April because it was a very busy work month, so I didn't get to do as much as I wanted. But I gotta tell you, I'm extremely proud to represent this organization, all of its staff members, and all the members of the community. And so I too like to attend as many events as I can to show our support for our staff. I attended the Interfaith Community fundraiser that Dr. Castaneda Calleros serves on their board to raise money for our families in need who need food. I also attended the Lois Niece Luncheon, which was for the Seroptimus organization that recognized some incredible young women from our school district, from Rio Hondo, from other places in our community. I also attended the Spirit Luncheon. In the Spirit Luncheon, Spirit serves the highest behavioral health services, mental health services to our community and our students. The Whole Child, I attended their event, which also provides behavioral health services. I was super happy last night to attend the California High School Senior Awards Night. I love seeing our students excel and their achievement, and as I think Mr. Retaliation said, the ending of this incredible chapter and the beginning of the next. To me, that's what graduation is and these awards are. I'm looking forward to attending Lacerda's and I think Pioneers next week. Also, I want to let the community know, I'll also be at Frontier High School tomorrow, that we are, I serve on our high school district foundation to try to raise monies to ensure that our current students have access to resources so that they can supplement their experience at Whittier Union. We have a fundraiser this Thursday at The Stand, which is a restaurant over on Whittier Boulevard and Michigan and College. Any food that you buy there between 11 a.m. and 9 p.m., some of the proceeds go to the foundation. The foundation's also having a fundraiser on May 31 at the Countrywood Country Club, Paint and Sip. That's from, I believe, 2 to 5. I forgot to write down the exact start time, but I believe it starts at 2. And I'm looking forward to seeing other community members at the Dancing with the Stars event this Friday. There's so many wonderful, great things going on. And I want to say thank you to all of our folks who contribute. I also want to recognize our retirees tonight. There was one person who was left off that I'm going to acknowledge because I think it's appropriate, and that's Elizabeth Brown-Smith, the former director of food services. Ms. Brown-Smith was the director here at Whittier Union for almost 10 years. She carried us during the time of COVID. I can recall, because my students, my youngest son was here during that time period, that there was food available, etc. And I know she retired due to a workplace injury. But I want to say to her and our other retirees, congratulations, and thank you for the service you have provided to us. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rodriguez, my son. Everyone, before I begin my report, can you please stand? Let's stretch. It's been a long evening. Stand and stretch if you need to. Okay. Take a deep breath. I'm not allowed to be worried. Okay, good. Very good. Okay. I think I'm ready to begin. Thank you, everyone, for indulging me in that stretch. I'm going to start with an apology. Why am I apologizing? Well, I usually like to sit and listen to every single comment that I can, but now that I'm getting a little older, I can't hold it as long. So, Trustee Mendez, I'm sorry I had to get up in the middle of your comments and take care of business. And then also, I also want to explain why I use the gavel when I do. As board president, it's my responsibility to make sure that I allow for discussion and that I facilitate a very robust dialogue. And as a board member, I've always said this, and I'm living this tonight. The most important action verb for a board member to do is to listen. And so I've listened for the past few hours to many of you share your thoughts and views, to my colleagues as well. So if I use the gavel, it's because I'm trying to make sure that we're all listening to each other. It's not meant for any disrespect. So having said that, I want to begin with just giving you just a summary of some things I've done in the community, and then I want to address some of the things that have been mentioned earlier by my colleagues. First of all, colleagues, this is our third time meeting this month. And it's not even halfway through the month, but we've had really important work to do. One of the most important things we can do is to evaluate our superintendent. And so we are just about done with that process. And it's really important that we do a thorough job of making sure that we're as inclusive as possible, that we're timely. And I think we're back on schedule with that, which is really important. One of my goals as a board president this year. Secondly, I did want to mention that I've attended the CSEA Chapter dinner and the Whittier City Council meeting honoring our Cal High champion boys basketball. The WHO Awards, and thank you, Darla, for being here and for being recognized. Congratulations. And the Whole Child on May 1st, the Cardinal Academic Mentor Awards on May 2nd, the Los Nietos School District Golden Bell on May 8th, Spirit Family Services on May 8th. And I want to include that because another one of my board goals one of my board president goals this year, and my colleagues will recall this, is to make sure to be more intentional about connecting with the school board members that are K-8 districts. And so at many of these events, I've had a chance to do so, to compare notes about what challenges we're facing. And I want to continue doing that throughout my board presidency. And it's really important that I report that to my colleagues here today. So now that you've heard a little bit about my activities, and as people have said, it's a busy time of year, and I hope to be able to attend as many graduations as possible and upcoming end of year events that are coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I want to go back for a minute and just say that I've listened closely to the comments that were made tonight. In particular, I want to thank Mr. Chris Crump, Ms. Marisol Nunez, and Ms. Mona Landon for sharing their comments tonight. And of course, the employee representatives, thank you for sharing your reports tonight. I listened to everything because it really helps me to stay grounded and to keep an open mind. Anyone who's heard me speak before may recall that I'm mindful about not interfering with the negotiations process from the dais, and I want to continue to do that. But I do want to speak candidly about what I believe is most important for us to remember during this part of our process. Sometimes when negotiations go as long as they do, there can be a natural reaction to maybe be a little frustrated, maybe be a little impatient. All of us are working so hard together to try to find an agreement. And last year, we had a contentious year, and when we were going through the most contentious moments, I remember saying to everyone, trust the process. And lo and behold, during the subsequent weeks, an agreement was reached eventually, gratefully, thanks to everybody's hard work. This year, my message is slightly different. This year, I think we all need to be aware of our roles as caretakers of our relationships. It can take decades to build relationships over time, but it could take a really short amount of time to jeopardize those relationships. Another thing that I promised to do as board president when I was elected by my colleagues in December, I said I would lead by employing the 3 R's. Rigor, relevance, and relationships. So it's the 3rd R that I think is being tested tonight, relationships. And I speak about relationships because they're important to me. And I think I've been missing the chance to connect over breakfast with CSEA leadership. I know that happened last year under Mr. Seacrest, and this year that hasn't happened. And also we haven't had a chance to connect over the spring breakfast, and I understand that was sort of due to kind of a different focus this year, and that's understandable. But I do think we're missing that one-on-one connection. I tend to be averse to connecting with folks during negotiations, but I'm willing to change my practice because I really want to welcome those times to break bread together. I think it's really important for the 5 of us to be able to have those opportunities with you. Like we did last year, and we have done it years past. And then about the video, my colleagues have talked about the video already. I'm not going to get into the content. I do agree the CSEA leadership has the right to create that and to be able to engage your members and to make sure that you are keeping them engaged throughout the process. And so I have no qualms about that. My only qualm is with the divisive tactic, because I feel like the language used, not only is it not accurate in some cases, but wedge politics to me means that having wedges driven in between CSEA and other employee groups, between board members on the dais, it creates this myth that it's us versus them. And that's what it is. It's a myth, because at the end of the day, we're all supposed to be Team Whittier Union. And are there elements of dysfunction? That's debatable. There could be. It depends on who you talk to. But my point is that when, not if, but when an agreement is reached this year, those of us that are still here working side by side, shoulder to shoulder, we're going to need to pick up the pieces and find ways of working together for the benefit of our students. That's why we're all here, is for our students. The last thing I'll say is sometimes when I'm here at the dais and there are folks that come up to the podium, I'm mindful of interrupting them, and I felt badly about interrupting our third speaker, but I just realized I forgot to keep time, and so maybe part of that's my fault. But I just want to make it clear that whenever there are allegations made or investigations that are requested, we listen closely to those. It's our job as a board to ask the right questions. So other than listening, the second most important action verb for a board member is to ask the right questions. And to do so without fear of retaliation or reprisal or bullying or harassment, the things that were mentioned tonight by all sides, right? But in the process of asking the right questions and listening and getting to the facts of the matter, I want to let you know I see you, CSEA, but I also want to let management know I see you, management. And so it's important to recognize the hard work that goes in and day out to keep our buses running, to keep our district running, to serve our students in the kitchen, on the buses, in the classrooms, across the counters, in the fields. Doesn't matter where we are, we're all Team Whittier Union. And so with that, I will adjourn my comments and we'll move on with the agenda.
Board of Trustees, thank you so much. So I'm Sean Stewart. I'm the Director of Student Activities and Athletics. And it's not on.
Not on text. Is that better? I just thought it was my coaching voice. So we're going to chat a little bit about conflict of interest. And to give you a little bit of background, I was a high school water polo coach, a site athletic director, assistant principal of business and activities for Lucerna High School, and then also director of student activities and athletics for the district. I am also, or was, the booster club president for my daughter's water polo team. So I've been in that chair role, and I also was a manager for my youngest daughter's club soccer team. And I also teach sports management classes at Cal Baptist and APU. So sports is my life, and that's what we do 24/7. So conflict of interest, this topic I've seen from all three perspectives, from a parent, from an administrator, and then also just as a coach. So let me paint you a little bit of a picture really quick. In 2022, projectplay.org did a survey, and basically 1 out of every 2 kids, 54%, either took lessons after school or played some kind of sport after school. The SoCal Soccer League, which is very popular, which I know parents probably have children that have played in that league, they have 158 club organizations with 10 plus teams. And that goes from San Diego to Bakersfield. And now this does not include AYSO or city leagues like WUHSD as well. And then CIF, what we're all familiar with. Over 800,000 students in 23-24 school year participated in educational-based athletics. So basically played a sport at high school. And that's 5% up from the previous years. So the one thing I realized after looking at all this data and painting this picture is kids love sports. They love playing sports. And let me tell you, parents love watching them, right? And adults love exciting and yelling at them. So some additional facts I want to give you. So this really painted the picture for me. In 2008, there was a rule called the No Association Rule, and it was actually voted down in CIF. And what that rule was there was a time where coaches could not coach their high school athletes during the school year. There was no association. And in 2008, they removed this rule, and coaches could then train their teams year-round. And high school coaches started developing an off-season program because of this. Now this led to 3 coaches. The first coach was really not excited. He was actually sort of bummed because all of a sudden he went from having 3 months off hanging out and seeing his family to now coaching a program year-round. And he did that because, or she did that because they wanted to be competitive. Then there was coach number 2, and that was me. And I was excited that this rule went away because my students at Downey High, we could not afford to play club water polo. And so that gave me an opportunity to coach my students year-round, to give them those opportunities, to get them into club tournaments, to get some more exposure for college. And then there was the third coach, who was really, really excited. Because not only did that coach high school, they coach club, and they could not coach their high school kids, and now that was just additional kids that could join their organization and grow their organization. So that was huge, and it basically came down to 3 things. They playing on a club team, and this no association rule going away, you could really develop kids' skills all year round, which was a really great thing, right? Their skills, it's called more touches. The more times you play, the better you get. Part 2, it's the college recruitment piece, and that's really big. College coaches will go watch a football player on a Friday night. A college coach will not go into a gym and watch one basketball player, or will not go onto a soccer field and watch one player. What they will do is go to a showcase or a club tournament and watch 30 to 50 players right there. And they're not just watching high school athletes. My daughter's in 8th grade and is already getting recruited. That's where we're at with club coaches. So it's definitely the college recruitment piece plays a big role. And then the off-season programs. People starting to specialize in one sport. Now, I will be very honest, I'm very anti that. If Mike Trout can play basketball, baseball, and football all 3 years, and his dad finally made him step down from football because he was going to be a first-round draft pick, and don't boo me, I think I'm the only Angel fan in here. Thank you, shout out, right there, thank you, I appreciate you. But that was a big piece, the specialization piece. So those 3 issues really came in. But once again, kids love playing sports, and they had the opportunity. So why does this all matter? Because truly, kids are starting to play club sports at a younger and younger age. My daughter started in 3rd grade. She went to practice on Tuesday night, and we have a 6U team in the club organization. That means they're in kinder, not playing AYSO and already playing on a club team. The growing number of coaches are now working with teams during the traditional off-season, both high school coaches and club coaches. Because what's going on? Club sports is starting to become a business. And it's a very big business, and it is affecting high school athletics. We started looking at how many club coaches we have at the high school level, and so I sort of dove in here, and I just called at a friend that works over at Troy High School, and I said, how many club coaches do you have on campus? They have 7 coaches on club. And then I went through my list, and I worked with our coaches, and I'm like, how many club coaches do we have at Whittier Union High School District? We have 17, actually 16 now, because someone left, but we have 16. Now that's for 5 schools. So we're averaging about 3 club coaches per school. And then I called my buddy down the street, who we are now re-leaguing with, Downey High School, and I asked how many club coaches they have, and he goes, we have 1. And I was sort of like, 1? He's like, we only have 1. Warren, down the street, has probably 12 to 15. And he's like, we're just very lucky, we just have 1, and that's it. But once again, why it matters is more kids are starting to play in the club realm. So what I realized is the more club coaches we have, the more chances of conflict of interest we could have. And they start developing. And we learned that. And we've had to deal with that this year. And going off the foundation of what Whittier Union High School is about professional development, about training the best teachers, about doing whatever it takes for our students. Knowing that, what we've sort of come up with is we started to do our own professional development in the realm of athletics, and we've developed the conflict of interest playbook. And this is sort of our first step in training our coaches and giving our coaches our own in-house professional development. Coaches take NFHS classes, they have to be certified in CPR first aid, but now we are starting to develop our own training guide to make sure we're following the rules of not only the district as well as CIF. And not to put any students, because that's what we're truly here for, any compromising situations. Because I've been on both sides. I'm a club dad. I was a high school coach that couldn't afford club teams. And now I'm a site administrator, or I was a site administrator, now a district administrator, who wants to make sure all of our athletes have the best experience in our athletic programs. So what does this sort of playbook look like? Well, it's myself and our APB&As and our athletic directors working with our coaches in our seasonal coaching meetings and really explaining what conflict of interest is. Because we go over it and we're like, yeah, that's great. But then once you put it into a sports perspective, because every coach is sitting there knowing their kids on their program play sports, and we have club coaches who coach our athletes, right? We started to realize and making sure we break down what it truly is, a conflict of interest from a sports perspective. And we break it down into 5 major areas. And we talk about communication, recruitment, resource usage, professional conduct, and ethical guidelines. And all of these have, major points that we break down, and we go over numerous situations. But just going over the Cliff Note versions for everyone, we talk about the legal and ethical issues, because we do have CIF guidelines that we have to follow. Bylaw 510, undue influence in the recruitment piece. We have district policies that governs the separation between school and club sports. So we dive into that with our coaches and make sure they know all of the rules for CIF as well as for our district. So there is a lot of late nights of combing through board policy, making sure we didn't miss anything, so they knew about rentals of facilities, right? So they understood that. Then we talk about risk management, and not a trip and fall risk management, more of properly documenting decisions, maintaining all of your records, managing all your resources, but reducing the risk of complaints. And here's the key thing. You never want to be accused of favoritism. So working with our coaches to make sure they are running tryouts properly. If they are going to sit an athlete for a discipline reason, is there documentation for that? Is your assistant principal and athletic director in the mix of that, right? So that's that risk management piece. Then probably the biggest piece is that clear role and boundaries. Now, as a father, once again, my daughter plays club water polo, and her high school coach is a club water polo coach. Her quote to us on our very first practice was, the more touches you get, the better you're gonna be. There are 10 clubs within a 25-mile radius. Go find one and play for one. You will get better. She never mentioned her club. She never mentioned the club that's literally right down the street, the club that uses the high school pool, right? There is a very, very clear role. And that's something that we are making sure our coaches have the guidelines and the strategies to make sure they understand the difference with club involvement, recruitment, and communication. The last two is, I'm really proud of, it's the professional development piece, right? We provide this framework for coaches to really talk to them about that evaluation piece, because that's where the conflict of interest comes in. It's my daughter, my son doesn't play for your club, so they don't get to play on your team. And that's not the piece. And so teaching and coaching our coaches on how to make sure all athletes are treated equal, how to run great practices, how to run great tryouts, that's a crucial thing. Lucerna High School cheerleading. My first year as APB&A, I did not know I was in charge of running cheer tryouts. I've never been a cheer dad. I watched Bring It On, I will admit that. Thank you, but that's all I've done. And I've learned really quick how to run cheerleading, how to do the point total, and I would not even let Miss Clock look at the scores until I was ready to hand over, here is your team. We had to make it fair, consistent, and make sure every athlete was treated equal. And then my last one, the biggest one that I was very excited for, This is a CIF-approved training. We handed over our playbook to Mike West. He is the commissioner of CIF, and we went over this, and we talked about these ethical guidelines and making sure coaches not only protect themselves, but the school's reputation and their standing within CIF. So that was probably the biggest piece that I was really excited for. In the news, there's a school in North Orange County that their baseball team was removed from CIF playoffs because of conflict of interest and other issues in that program. So making sure that we follow all CIF guidelines is crucial. So the last piece is our next steps. Where do we go from here? Well, I think our biggest piece is we're gonna just continue to enhance our trainings and the effectiveness of all our programs. So we are now moving forward with this. So not only we have the conflict of interest playbook, we are also doing trainings about parent meetings, expenditures. You do not want to upset an ASB bookkeeper, right? Facility usage, and making sure everyone knows our CIF rules and regulations. We're going to then continue to implement this conflict of interest playbook, and we're going to continue to grow it and share and use those professional development strategies about, talk to your elbow partner about certain situations to come up to make sure everyone's on the same page. And then last but not least, I'll be honest with you. Our goal as an athletic program is to provide a positive environment, but we want to win in a competitive team. And so we are really working with our coaches to make sure that when a kid leaves our program, that they had a positive experience, and we battled the best we could to put some W's on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. The board appreciates your presentation. This was requested by the board, and thank you for working with Dr. Oviedo and the team to put this together. Let me check in with my colleagues and see if they have any questions. I see Mr. Mendes now.
Thank you, Sean, for your presentation. It was very clean.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Good graphics. I have a series of questions, so I'll ask them one.
Let's rock and roll.
So I understand that a competitive student is what you want, an athlete, is that the more chance they have on practicing touching, the better they'll get. That's a no-brainer. So my question is about affordability. This, I don't know if this may be a faux pas, but so what is generally the cost of clubs?
There's a wide range, and I can only speak from the club from the soccer level that we're in. There's club teams that you pay $500 and that's it, and coaches usually will not take a paycheck, and that $500 goes to really facility usage fees and tournament fees, and then you pay to play as you go on. If you play a game, everyone chips in $5 for an official. So, but bottom baseline for insurance, fields and stuff for a team of maybe 16 kids, it could be $500 for the season, and then there's monthlies. And then there's teams that the upper level where you play ECNL. So your next step from the ECNL team is you play for the national team. And we have some kids in our programs at all of our schools that play for the ECNL. That could run you up to anywhere from $3,000, your base fee, plus travel expenses.
So obviously, I'm very concerned about affordability.
100%.
Especially when they use our premises, is to have a low-income student who really can't control that circumstance. And it would take too much time for them to collect bottles and cans to do that, because I did that. I collected bottles and cans to pay for my lessons. So I'm really concerned about affordability, especially with regards to use of our facilities. What has been done, what can be done?
So that's a really great question. So from our perspective, APBNAs and principals, we work on our field rental costs. We are very, very selective on who we let in to use our facilities. Our key thing is our students come first. So if the Hawks baseball program, that is our high school off-season club program for our kids only, that our coaches coach in the off-season for free. They do not pay for our facilities, even in the off-season. When you have a club team that comes in And that club team has no affiliation to our school. Our kids don't even play for that club team. They're not even sending our kids into our feeder program, right? They're not Whittier kids, then they pay full price. They pay. Now, when they are Whittier students, we always go through our proper channels and they pay through, I think it's fair cost is the exact terminology I'm using.
Fair rental costs.
Fair rental costs.
And certain organizations can qualify for fair rental costs. If they're a nonprofit entity or an educational entity, they can pay fair rental costs, which is simply the cost of any materials and or custodial support that's needed for that facility.
My last question. I think it's realistic that coaches are gonna look for a competitive athlete who's practiced a lot and preferably who belong to a club during off season. If a student comes up and they're from a low-income community and they don't belong to a reputable club, they don't practice as much because that costs money. The reality is, I think a coach wants a competitive athlete.
So I'll agree and disagree with you on that one. So I think it depends on sports. You can teach someone to hit a fastball, right? Cross country, you can teach kids to build endurance to run. And I think that's what our schools do. Every school has sports that bring students in. I'll use wrestling. Wrestling is not your everyday sport. There's not wrestling on Saturdays. There's wrestling clubs you can join. But when you go to high school, I would say wrestling, water polo, right? Those are sports, cross country. Those are sports that are not your standard football, basketball, baseball. There's sports on campus for kids. I never jumped in the water and I never wore a Speedo until my freshman year, which I struggled with that first time. But I got in, I knew how to swim, and 4 years later, I could go to college to play. And we're a low-income family. So I think all of our programs do a great job. Yes, they are going to go after the stud, right? They're going to go after, right, that individual. But Andy Land, who won me a CIF title for water polo in the goal, I found her in my freshman English class because she dropped her pencil and she barely had to bend over to pick them up. And her wingspan was over 6 feet long. So those are the students who never even heard of water polo before. I think our coaches do a great job going out and recruiting our athletes on our campus to play sports. That's the one thing that I know we do really, really well. And we go after those kids. And I do know so many coaches who have gone to Ross to buy cleats for our students, who've gone to Burlington to get practice jerseys, who have just paid out of their own money to put, stuff on our kids' backs to make sure they have the equipment to play. We've all done it in coaching world. Everyone who's coached. As a wrestling coach, former wrestling coach, how many ASIC wrestling shoes have you bought? And that's what we do. And so that's the key thing. So yes, I understand. If I'm a basketball coach and the 6'6" kid sit in my class, I'm gonna recruit him. But the 5'2" kid who can hit threes or learn to hit threes and can outrun everyone, I'm gonna take him too to battle.
Thank you, Sean. We need all these connections.
I get a little fired up on sports, I'm sorry.
I think it's needed, Mr. Stewart. Thank you for the fire, and thank you for the presentation. And I want to give credit where credit's due. Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez Moisa, for pushing for this. Appreciate it. And now we're talking about just conflict of interest, which is in this presentation. What if someone is found that they violated this? What happens to them?
So that's a really good question. I feel like our APB&As and our athletic directors, if they do violate this, those are some serious conversations, and it's unacceptable. And we've gone down this road. And I will take blame for the last 2 years because we haven't had this in place. Because I will be very honest with you, we've had conflict of interest. We've had coaches who maybe have not said, play for my club, but maybe hint, maybe put stuff out on social media, and so that lands on me. And so now what do we do? Now that we have this in place, it's unacceptable if this happens. I can't control every coach, and if it does happen, then there's consequences obviously for that coach, right, and that program from that standpoint. But if I do my job and our ADs do their jobs and our ATB and As do their jobs, then this will not happen. But if it does, there are some serious consequences and conversations to have.
Thank you. And then,
Following all district policies and guidelines.
now, I understand coaches. I understand coaches about conflict of interest. What about teachers? What about teachers or staff, I should say, staff that have kids in sports, and about treating them differently, or is there such a conflict of interest that applies to them? We know coaches, but how about staff?
So staff treating students differently because they're in athletics. As a parent.
So if there is a parent and their student attends their school and they're the coach and then there's students on their team?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question, but not to leave names out, but we have a very high level soccer player in our program, and their parent has a very high level job in our district, and that individual barely made the JV team, and that parent said, yeah, that's where she's at right there in that level. There are some seniors that are pretty stacked. She plays for a very high-level club team. She was a very big impact player this year now as an upperclassman. So there is definitely, I feel like we definitely hold the line at our school about not playing favorites to our parents who even work in the district or have some kind of connection to the district and their child is playing sports.